words I'm going to ask you all to repeat back to me. I'm going to count down from 3, and I want everybody to say those words as loudly as you possibly can. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Now we've said the 3 words, let's explore why they're so important. Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Sword-Williams. I am the founder and author of Fuck Being Humble. I'm also a brand consultant and change maker. And for the last 7 years, I have been teaching people to be unapologetically proud of their achievements and to get over the fear of self-promotion. Now, I've not been telling people to fuck being humble because I want you to be arrogant or self-indulgent. It's because I want everybody in this room to know that your voice is valued. I want everybody in this room to know that your ideas deserve to be heard. And I want everyone in this room to know that you have more power than you think. But the thing that I really want you all to go away remembering and to be acting more on is being more courageous. Because when we are thinking about how we are showing up in our careers, in this industry, I think we are lacking in courage. Now, one of my favorite books that I have ever read is by Daniel Pink, and it's called The Power of Regrets. He has been studying what people regret in their later lives, and one of the biggest regrets that people have is boldness regret. Is wishing they'd have lived more boldly, spoken more boldly, and acted more boldly. So today's session, I'm not going to be delivering a talk on self-promotion and how incredible you are. Today, what I really want to be talking about and what the question I want you all to be thinking about when you leave this room is what legacy are you leaving behind? Because I actually think we have a major problem in the advertising, marketing, and media industry. And the problem is the ideas that I am seeing day in, day out are boring, they are expected, and they are uninventive. And I really want to remind everyone that the world does not need any more CGI floating handbags or perfume bottles. The world does not need to have their names printed on cans that they're going to drink for 5 seconds and then throw away in the bin. And whilst it was entertaining, the world does not need to watch Peppa Pig having a gender reveal party at Battersea Power Station. I've had a bit of controversy saying that. A lot of people have told me they absolutely loved it. And I agree, it was entertaining. But what I do really want to see is more creativity and courage. These are the 2 words that I'm going to keep repeating throughout today's session because I think we've lost it. I think we need to be being braver with our ideas, with our thinking, with what we're putting out there. We need to be bolder. And when we are thinking about how we are showing up in the world and how we are leaving an impact, I want you to know that if you have been remotely concerned about AI stealing your jobs, creativity and courage are going to be the 2 words that make you indispensable. So now we've talked about why I'm here, I'm going to talk about how you can implement those things that we have been talking about so far. The first thing I want you to be doing is challenging your industry. I know for a lot of you, you might be feeling like this woman on screen. You might be feeling exhausted with workloads, with pressures, with things that are happening. But I want everyone in this room to remember that you can have an influence. I don't care if you're an exec. I don't care if you're an MD. I don't care if you're the CEO. I want everybody to know that you can have an influence. All you need to do is act on your opinions. A lot of us have opinions, but we don't put them into action. We sit there moaning about things, and we don't actually see the change that we want to see. Now, when I went out to the world 7 years ago and said, fuck being humble, do you think anybody told me it was a good idea? Very few people did. But what I wanted to do was act on my opinions. I could see a problem in the industry, and I wanted to try and tackle it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have never regretted using my voice for good. So when it comes to things like International Women's Day and key moments of the year, you will not see me making pink products because truthfully, that does not help women with gender equality. In fact, if you followed me or you haven't seen this project before, last year for International Women's Day, I created a campaign called Men Ask for More because I was sick of seeing the burden of gender equality being put on women's shoulders, and I wanted to see more men get involved in the conversation. The campaign consisted of a downloadable report, which included insights from men from across the industries. It was featured in national press, and over 600 businesses around the world downloaded it and have since turned into clients of mine. And when I could see that the industry was being cut, job cuts were being cut regularly, we were seeing mass redundancies and layoffs, I didn't choose to stay quiet. I chose to create a campaign called Their Loss, because I wanted to remove the stigma of losing your job, and I wanted to remind people it's not your loss, it's their loss for losing you, right? And that campaign consisted of free online resources, free training, and we created a mental health campaign because job loss has connections to mental health issues, where we partnered with Campaign Against Living Miserably and created a t-shirt collection that donated 100% of its profits to them. And I'm sharing all these examples to say, I did all of these things with no big team, right? When I say we, I really mean me. It's me, myself, and I. And I share these to say that we had no big budgets. It really was about me investing my profits from my business back into these campaigns and initiatives, because this is the legacy that I want to leave behind from my industry. So I know you might be sitting there and thinking, well, this is all well and good, but it's easy when you run your own business. You don't have as much red tape. You might not have as much bureaucracy. And I get it. It can be harder with bigger clients when you are trying to get key decision makers to sign things off. You've got brand equity. You've got lots of things that you've got to try and tick off. But one of my favorite projects ever that I wanted to talk about today was partnering with Kerastase, one of L'Oreal's biggest hair care brands, when they came to me 3 years ago and asked me to be a global brand partner to help them close the confidence gap amongst young women. At first, I was a bit skeptical, unsure what a hair care brand was going to do. But when we talked about all the potential, we actually ended up creating an incredible series of resources, content, massive events. We created mentoring schemes. We did so many great things. And it's probably one of the proudest projects I've ever worked with a brand on. And I guess I'm sharing this to say what we actually did was we created a legacy that we could be proud of. And I'm so pleased that I got to partner with them as a brand. Now, why I'm sharing all of this is because I think we need to be thinking harder on how we contribute back to society. When I said before that ideas have become boring and expected, it's because I don't think we're thinking about how can we give back? How are we leaving the world in a better place? I have seen the budgets that we spend on marketing and advertising campaigns, and it can be sickening when you think it's not going to good causes. So I'm not standing here to preach and make anyone feel guilty. I'm just asking you to think about, with the influence and power that you do have, how could you be using it in a more effective way? And this might sound a little bit morbid, but when it comes to your end of life and someone is reading your eulogy, do you want them to say you were a master of making CGI floating perfumes, or that you helped to leave the world in a better place? The way I run these sessions is I talk for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I give you some questions to reflect on, because I genuinely want you to walk out of this room and embrace what we're talking about. So now, for the next 2 minutes, I want you to turn to the person next to you, and I want you to answer these 2 questions. What legacy do you want to leave? And what do you want to be known for? These questions are hard because we're British and we hate self-reflection. But I promise you, you are going to walk away feeling more ignited and more excited about the potential impact you can have. You have the next 2 minutes. Off you go. Come on. Thank you. Good. If I speak, am I good? Okay, everyone. Everyone, can I get silence in the room? Everyone, can I get silence in the room, please? The screen's frozen. I think there may be... We're having a slight screen glitch, but the reason I couldn't shout any louder than that is because I went to Glastonbury at the weekend. And you're all lucky that I've still got my voice, quite frankly. So I'm glad that you could all hear me there. When I do ask for silence, if everybody could try and do that as quickly as possible, because we've got lots to get through, and I just want to make sure we do. I'm going to try and click through. There's a right click on my screen, so I don't know if... Yeah? Perfect. So the key learning from that section is think about your own legacy. It's a really good place to start because yes, I know you might be working at companies, you might not always have the final say so, but think about your own individual legacy and that will start to create more action. Now the second thing that I want everyone to do is to think beyond the brief. And yes, that is Heidi Klum dressed as a worm because that really is thinking beyond the brief when it comes to going to a show like that. Now the reason I wanted to say this today is because you are here because you do have resources. I'm actually not going to let you get off that easily because you are here because you do have resources. You are here because you are holding a lever in the system somewhere. And you are here because you are potential future change makers, right? But what I do need to stress to you is that change makers don't behave like this, right? So we have to be thinking about when we are channeling and trying to tackle problems. For years, I worked in advertising for 7 years. I have been on this side. I know exactly how it works. What we do is we focus on brand first. That is our main goal. How are we going to make the brand look good? How can we make more money for the brand? How can we get more people coming to our brand? And the thing that I'm really urging everyone to do is to start thinking problem first. So when it comes to writing briefs, working on projects, instead of thinking brand first, I want you to be thinking problem first. Because we've got a hell of a lot of global problems happening in the world, and we cannot rely on our governments to do the right thing. And I really think that brands, marketing experts, leaders in this field could be the people that creates the change that we want to see. Now, I've had a bee in my bonnet recently because I am sick of seeing problems not being solved by brands. And I know this industry can be a bit gatekeepy, but today I'm going to share 3 problems that I would absolutely love brands to solve. And if any of you work at these brands, please hit me up because I would love to work with you on these. First problem that needs to be solved that blows my mind that it's not. Why is there not a childcare brand creating creches across the UK to tackle the childcare problem? Could you imagine the brand loyalty Pampers would get if they created childcare solutions and we stopped seeing women drop out of the creative industry? Why has that not been tackled by a brand yet? Another problem that I hate to see is city safety. Why are we not seeing brands like Citymapper, Google Maps, creating safer routes for women to walk home? Why are we not seeing them come up with initiatives or ways that we can get through cities without feeling in danger? And the third problem that actually keeps me up at night is the mental health crisis. I have friends that are on 7-year waiting lists to be seen for help, right? Why are brands like Calm and Mindspace not trying to tackle the mental health problem with subsidized therapy sessions, with mental health solutions beyond just selling us their products? We have major crises going on, and we do have the potential and power to solve it, but for some reason we're turning away and not tackling this problem. And I guess the question I want you to all be asking yourself is, what is the point of it all? When we are sat in meeting rooms and we're coming up with brainstorming something and, you copy a TikTok trend, please stop patting yourself on the back for that. Like, that isn't impressive. You are not going to look back in a few years' time and think, oh, I'm so glad we went viral on that TikTok trend, right? What I do want you to be thinking of is your sphere of influence. I'm often met with a lot of cynicism when I talk on this, and it's often because people are like, well, what can I do? Again, a very British response. Look at your sphere of influence. Think about who you could influence. If you're in the production teams and you notice that we generally always have male crew when we're working on a period care advert, maybe get a female care crew in. Maybe that would be helpful. Or maybe if you're working on something to do with disability, you need to have people on board who understand that. Thinking about our ways that we could try and create positive change, even if it's the behind the scenes stuff, is as important as the campaigns that you're creating and putting out there. I wanted to share a few examples that have really been nailing this recently. First one is Stormzy and Adidas's Murky Football Club. If you've not seen it, Stormzy created a football club space in South London to try and create a space for young talent to develop themselves, to play football, to really learn and grow. But what he's also doing is trying to tackle the lack of leadership roles for black people in the football industry. So he's not only helping the youth, but he's also looking to change representation in the football industry, and Adidas has backed it. So the next time you're working on a celebrity campaign, please look at that as a case study, because it's a killer one. Another great example of creativity is A View from the Bridge, which is created by artist Joe Bloom. If you've not seen it, people go up to this telephone and talk really vulnerably and honestly about what's happening in the world and their lives. It's a brilliant space to look for insights, but also it's amazing to see the connection and the vulnerability of people sharing. And I couldn't share this presentation without giving a shout out to Women Street Watch UK. These brilliant women in their high-vis pink jackets every Friday and Saturday volunteer in Newcastle to help drunk women get into taxis so that they are not affected by gender violence. They help charge their phones, they give them a safe place to get a taxi, and they make sure they get home safely because they couldn't handle seeing the statistics in their city. So even if you can't create that change in your companies, I want you to be thinking of the pre-existing communities that are out there that you could either help fund or you could actually help be part of. And when you are writing briefs, I would absolutely love it if you added a box on your briefs that actually said, how could we leave a positive legacy with this brief? Like, imagine just sticking that on every single brief, so at least your brains are thinking about that potential outcome. So now what I want you to do for the second activity is, I want you to think of a problem that really pisses you off right now. And I love putting this in because we love to moan in the UK, right? And what or who could help it? What brand, what influencer, what celebrity? I want you to turn to the person next to you. You've got 2 minutes, off you go. Okay, everyone. Everyone. So the key learning from that section is think problem first, not brand first. Especially if you've got a brand that already has huge legacy, already has a lot of equity in the space, it's time for you to start thinking problem first. And the third thing that I really wanted to talk to you about today, before you go away from today's session, is I want you to think about how you can make people sit up and listen. I'm hoping that you feel energized and recharged to go away and share this with other people. But just in case you're feeling a bit nervous, I want to give you that final reminder. When I was writing my book, I came up with the phrase FOSS, the fear of sounding stupid. This is the fear that if we speak about ourselves, if we speak up, if we say certain things, we're worried we might sound or look stupid. Hands up if anyone's ever felt FOSS in their career. Everyone better put their hands up because we've all felt it, right? But here's the thing. As I said before, experts don't behave like this, right? You are all here for a reason, and what we have to learn to get better at is hearing a no. Because if you've ever worked in sales, it is more common to get a no than it is a yes. So I need you, when you go back and pitch these ideas, and you inevitably do get a few no's or we're unsure, I need you to be prepared to hear, it's not the right time. I don't see it working. We don't have the resources. It won't be easy to sell in internally. It's not one of our priorities. Maybe later on in the year. You're going to hear these things, but please don't give up. What I actually need you to do is get clear on what they really care about. I'm going to flash up a slide in a minute, and I recommend everybody photographs it. When I worked in advertising, I was a new business director. I learned how to sell in ideas to key decision makers, win clients, and really change the landscape. And truthfully, what key decision makers care about are the following 6 things. They care about, is it going to make us more money? Is it going to help to reduce costs? Is it going to gain coverage? Is it going to reach a new audience, attract new opportunities, or win awards? And I believe doing what I'm talking about, creating a legacy, will do all of these things. But when you're selling in your ideas, you have to link it back to the bottom line, because the CEO and the finance director care about these things. Now, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to pick holes in your ideas before they do. It's one of the best things you can do, because the worst feeling is you pitch an idea, you think it's amazing, they pick holes in it, and straight away you back out and go, oh God, it wasn't a good idea. One of my favorite books is by Chris Voss, called Never Split the Difference. It's written by an FBI hostage handler on how to negotiate. I want you all to read this book after you've bought and read mine. And in the book, what he talks about is the accusation audit technique. So if you can think of the accusations that might get thrown at you and call them out before your boss does, you are more likely to win them over and build trust. So if you know they're going to come at you and say, we don't have the time and resources, before you even share the idea, you go, let me just say, I know we're tight on time and resources, but I truthfully believe the following things will happen. Acknowledge their fears before you pitch the idea in, and they are more likely to say yes. I also want you to get clarity and don't ditch the assumptions. We assume it's because of me. Oh, there's a reason they didn't say yes. Oh, it's because I got that wrong. It's not. You need to ask the reasons. Why are we getting a no? Literally ask the question, what is stopping this from going through right now? Because if you don't ask that question, you will make up things in your head and you will miss out. Or if you want to flip it round, you can say, what would it take to get this signed off? And then I also think it's really important to be thinking about your team successes, talking about individual successes, talking about the positive impact you've already had as a company. I want you to be leveraging all of these things because it's going to help to sell it in better. And if you can't get it signed off in your company, please don't give up. There are 2 images I saw recently that I absolutely loved. First of all, Dad striking for better paternity was amazing to see. And if you don't know Chance, who run Chance Marshall. He created an incredible walk-in therapy service, and he's created something called Dad Chats, where he brings together lonely dads who want to come together and talk. Even if you can't create the impact in the company you're working for or the business you run, please keep asking yourself, how can we make the world 1% better? And if you don't, I am urging you and I'm reminding you, if you don't take up space, other people will take your place. I say this at all my events. If you don't take up space, other people will take your place. And when I say other people, I mean shitter people like Katy Perry pretending to be an astronaut. And recently we had Peter Andre pretending to be a Rastafarian gangster, right? So if you don't want to see them taking the headlines, you could be taking the headlines. When you tap into your creativity and courage, you could be making the headlines for all the right reasons. If you have enjoyed today's presentation and you'd like to get a summary of my slides, please scan the QR code. I am more than happy for you to share this internally. I am going to be offering 6 complimentary strategy sessions for brand leaders who are working at brands who would like to work with me on tackling some global problems. So if you scan that QR code, plug in your details, I will be selecting 6 brands to work with. I would absolutely love to see more change be made by the people in this room. But that is everything from me, so thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you, Steph. That was amazing, amazing, amazing. We have a question.
Yes.
Any advice to people working in male-dominated industries? Oh, sorry.
I'm still on.
Just one question. Any advice to people working in male-dominated industries when it comes to being heard in the room?
Yes. Okay.
Go for it.
So for those of you that are still here, there was a question on how are you heard in male-dominated rooms if you're a woman? My advice is find a male mentor that you can speak to within the company or externally. I would also recommend finding a way to partner with those men on a project that they're interested in so that you build that trust first and you show them all the great impact you can have. And once you've built that relationship, you're more likely going to be able to open those opportunities and doors. Yeah?
Amazing.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.